For so many people in our childhood, there was one man, one dude, one fellow that rose head and shoulders above the rest. One individual that we all loved and respected so much more than anyone, and someone that we didn't even know their name until the years went by. I am talking about the legendary Pokemon master. I am talking about Red. Charizard! So many of us grew up on Pokemon. It's a cornerstone in society today. It's the most popular franchise in the world. Every new game they release, even if it's just a reskin version of the old game, it becomes the highest selling game in the franchise because this is just that big. However, I do believe for people in my age range, the people that grew up with Pokemon, Red is one of the most powerful, impactful, and mysterious characters in your fictional experience. The amount of respect we have for him is just unbelievable. And today I'm going to talk about how no one understands Red, how no one really knows what Red went through and what he's thinking at different points in time, how he's a character that despite having a manga about him, you're playing as him in a video game, and he shows up in future generations as well. We really don't understand him, and we don't understand the depths of his suffering. We don't understand what makes him tick, and we don't know why he is as tragic or as powerful as a character as he really is to so many of us until today. Hold back your tears for now because we're going to be saving that for the end of the video when I actually tackle the parts of Red that I think really impacts every single one of us so much. He is one of my favorite characters, and I really wanted to do him justice for the longest time. I'm glad that I've gone back to making videos on Nuxanor covering characters and anything that my audience wants and going back to the roots of content, and I've really been enjoying it, and I'm glad you guys have been as well. The comments have been extremely good. I've been reading them, so thank you very much. So now let me take a slurp from my very deep glass of G Fuel that I used with code NUX to get myself 20% off my order, and let me, just like all of you guys who can do that too, by the way, delve into the depths of why no one understands Red. A character that means so much to so many, and a character that despite all of that feeling and all of that love that has from so many fans across the world and across the age spectrum, he's still a character that's a tragic character that none of us truly understand. Just briefly, I want to talk about how I first experienced Red. I first experienced him by playing through the Fire Red, Leaf Green video games of Pokemon. They hold a very good deep place in my heart. I love them. I love all the adventures that I go through in that game. I love how, despite the fact that it's one of the oldest games of all time, nay, the oldest Pokemon game, if you include Red and Blue, it also has much more of an open world feel to it than almost every single one of its contemporaries. You don't have to fight any of the gyms in order aside from the first one, and it's really cool. The first needs to be first, the 8th needs to be 8th, and aside from that, you can kind of get around and do whatever the hell you want. It's just such an interesting dynamic. So I just like that because it makes it feel like it's a much more personalized adventure. You can go ahead and you can explore the world the way you want to explore it. Now, it gets interesting because you don't realize you're playing as Red. At least I didn't when I first played it. But when I later understood that that's exactly who I was, and I was modeling my adventure off without even knowing it, it piqued my interest. I read the manga, I learned more about this guy, and he's even more badass than I was. We played the Pokemon game, we beat it, right? It's a pretty easy game. Well, it's easy for Red because he's a badass, but here's this dude who, unlike Ash, the person that we actually watched when we were children, the person that we saw struggle to win a fight, whose win rate is probably like 50-50, who hasn't won any important matches, like he's never won a league, he keeps adventuring again and again, he catches a handful of Pokemon in every region, even though it's the slogan is gotta catch them all. Here you have Red, the dynamic opposite of Ash, a stoic, badass character. Not someone that's just fighting against 3 goofballs from Team Rocket, but a kid who single-handedly takes down the biggest crime syndicate the world has ever seen. Someone who not only catches a handful of Pokemon, but someone who literally catches all of them. That's all the legendaries. That's Mew and Mewtwo. He's the guy that goes even further beyond and does the impossible, lives up to the motto, gotta catch them all. He is the one that actually beats every single league. He beats the Elite Four. He becomes the champion, the thing that Ash always dreamed to do. If anything, watching Ash's many failures throughout the Pokemon anime growing up, it made me only come to recognize how incredibly badass Red is. Because he beat the Elite Four, not just because the Elite Four were the top trainers in order to become the champion. In the manga, the Elite Four are 4 incredibly powerful trainers that want to take over the Kanto region. He is the one that stands up to them, along with several of his homies, and he beats them in life or death battles, where Lorelei freezes him in place for months until he could eventually be de-thawed squad and help out his team. He's someone that fights Bruno hand-to-hand combat. As crazy as that sounds for a Pokemon game, he's up against this karate master who has Pokeballs at the end of nunchucks, so that when he swings the nunchuck at Red, his Pokemon could pop out past Red's defenses and kill him. Do you realize what Red is up against? He is this man that we're not just watching play this hopeful adventure, this fun time. He is someone that is fighting life or death situations every day. He enters and infiltrates a mafia and wipes out the entire mafia, not just in Pokemon battles. He doesn't go up to each Team Rocket grunt one after another and fight his Rattata, bro. Oh my god, is he using Eradicate? No, they're literally outnumbering him and trying to murder him. Do you recognize the stakes here? This is someone to look up to. Who is this Ash? Ash who? Through experiencing Red's adventures, you don't only see a character that's really powerful. You see a character that can inspire. You see people like Blue, who are assholes throughout, get inspired by Red and aim to become better people and better trainers throughout. Like, for example, when I was a kid, I was always wondering, wait a second, how is it that Blue became a gym leader? He was the champion. Shouldn't he become like the strongest of the Elite Four? Well, the answer to that question is the Elite Four isn't part of the actual Indigo League prefecture. He became the champion, and then he became the 8th gym leader. That's the next status. The Elite Four are bad guys that are trying to kill out the Kanto region. It's like, dude, these are like, you don't understand. The Elite Four are essentially Nazis. This is the manga, okay? You're following an entirely different storyline than anything you've ever experienced. You have people stabbing other Pokemon. You have Pokemon dying and bleeding out all over the place. It's not just the bonds you make with your homies that you can adventure with through a light-hearted world. You got a world where it makes sense that there are crime organizations. It makes sense that there are evil people that want to warp and control the way that the world is today. It's really rough. Watching Red overcome all this as a child, such a badass character, such an amazing protagonist, someone that inspires his friends and isn't afraid to go up against any foe, someone who actually does overpower and surpass any expectation of him, the person that does the impossible because of an entire childhood of watching Ash flounder around and fail. This man succeeds. He catches them all. He beats the bad guys. He saves the world. He becomes the master, and he walks away. The reason why Red is such a powerful character is because after you play as Red in Pokemon Fire Red, you beat through the entire game. You become the very best, the best there ever was. You beat all the enemies. You wipe out the criminal organizations. You save the world. You capture the legendaries. You are unbeatable and unthinkably strong. And then all of a sudden, you're playing Soul Silver or Crystal, and where is this guy? All of a sudden, you fight Blue as the leader of the final gym in Kanto, and you don't even know where this guy is. Eventually, you find Red, standing silently on top of Mount Silver, and it's frightening. He turns to you, he doesn't speak, and he faces you with a full power team of Pokemon higher levels than anything you've ever faced before. He is the ultimate challenge. You defeat him, and he once again says nothing. What happened to this man? Where is this massive divide? No one understands Red because no one understands how he went from the Pokemon Master, someone who loves people, someone who fights for humanity, and someone who inspires his friends, someone who accomplishes his goals and always dreams higher. How did he get from that person with true love in his heart? How did he get from that to a silent man standing on top of a mountain in complete solitude, becoming your final and most formidable opponent of all time? Why did he leave the world behind him to burn? And why does he stand there silently and solemnly, just passing the time? This is a question that I think bothers everyone. This is a question that I think people scratch their head about in regards to Red's character forever. Fan theories are abundant. Everyone has different theories and different reasons as to why Red is standing there. Red was frozen by Lorelei for a while, and he exhibited that he was still suffering from being frozen in place. Physically frozen in place. He was showing that it affected his health. Going forward, in his future fights, you see him coughing, you see him shaking. Maybe he just can't. Maybe he's just too weak. He saved the world and he took damage by doing so. So now he's living his life out in solitude, suffering from remaining illness in the cold. Maybe he died. Maybe you're fighting a ghost of Red. He doesn't speak, just says 3 dots when you face him. Maybe he went up to the top of Mount Silver to live out his final days among the strongest wild Pokemon in existence and die there. Maybe he just feels like there's nothing left for him to accomplish. He saved the world, he stopped the bad guys, he caught all the Pokemon, he became the strongest trainer that ever lived. What's next? What's that feeling of accomplishment if you can't ever one-up yourself? There are so many people that try to explain what goes on, but at the end of the day, none of these explanations really satisfy you. None of them are actually positive. None of them actually give a good ending to an amazing hero. None of them actually take that hero of your childhood, the most badass trainer that ever lived, living in the Pokemon world, a world that every single one of us wanted to be real. And this is what happened to that man that we all looked up to so much. I don't know if any of these theories are true. I don't know if any of them hold water. I don't even know if the Pokemon developers thought of any of these theories. I don't know if the Pokemon developers just wanted a final boss to be there, standing there at the end of Gen 2 to face you, someone to terrify you and to strike fear and awe in your heart. I don't know if I'm looking too deep into this, just because Red is a character that means so much to me, and he stands there as one of the pillars of the most powerful and impactful characters of my life growing up. I grew up with Pokemon, with Red as the #1 fictional inspiration, yet here he stands, completely alone, at the top of Mount Silver, freezing cold, in the wild, never venturing down to actually meet the rest of humanity. It's chilling and it's tragic, and no one understands exactly what happened. But the truth is, I think that this too is part of what makes Red such a crazy, impactful, and powerful character. I think all these theories, maybe they hold some truth to it. Maybe he is still suffering from a disease. Maybe he's dead and this is a ghost. And maybe he's just done with humanity because he has no way to top his previous accomplishments and he could just live out his days in the wilderness. But I'll tell you the honest truth right now, and prepare to cry. The reason why Red stands tall as one of my favorite characters ever is because, unlike any other character that I watch and that I respect, or even characters that I relate to, I feel like I am living Red's story. As a kid playing through the Pokemon games, my first time, catching them all, beating the gyms, beating Team Rocket, becoming the champion, I loved that stuff. I wanted to live on in that world. I wanted that Pokemon world to be real. Wanted to feel it, and not Pokemon Go style where I'm accidentally walking into cars that are trying to run me over every time I try to catch a goddamn Sudowoodo. No, that's not what I'm talking about. The reason why Red remains as such an impactful character is because he is us. We play as Red in our first adventure in this Pokemon universe that we love and still see so much around us. Every time a new game is released, even if you don't play it, you see people talking about it, you engage in it, you see these new designs, you see Game Freak making fantastic business decisions and releasing games with absolutely no glitches, but it doesn't matter because it's this thing that you grew up with and that you actually love for what it is, regardless of its shortcomings. You are Red, so prepare to cry. Red stands up there alone, at the top of Mount Silver, with no future. We don't know why he's there, we don't know what is forward, but we do know this is where we say goodbye to him. We are Red until Mount Silver. That is when we say our final goodbye to him to become us. It is this game that brings us into adulthood. It's this game that we have in our memories and we still see surround us every single day. There's Pokemon merch in every stand, in every country, in every existence. This is where we finally say goodbye to Red. This is when we stop playing his story. And this is when we take our first steps to start ours. Thank you, Red. Thank you for inspiring me and a whole generation. Thank you for being an ultimate badass character that I love, respect, and relate to. And thank you. Thank you for sending me off into the next chapter of my life. Hope you enjoyed, everyone. This was one from the heart. God damn it. Please like and subscribe. Let me know future stuff you want me to cover. And remember to stay weird, fam.